All right, everyone, we have big political news. Well, it's not really big political news because 99% of you had no clue that this dude was even in the running. He wasn't on the GOP's also-ran debate stage, and unlike Larry Elder, he doesn't have any preeminent reason why people outside of Miami would know that the mayor of Miami was running for the presidency in the GOP field, Francis Suarez. I'm sure that this will give about a point of support to Ron DeSantis because, of course, he's from Florida. So congrats to Ron DeSantis. I know you've slipped to 13, but maybe you can get back up to 14, and your fans will roar with approval at this and consider it to be a monumental success. I suspect a slight uptick in DeSantis polling support for a short time as a result of this. Francis Suarez was the mayor of Miami, and he didn't have a pulse. Like, he was riding, if he was polled at all, he was riding at like 0.1. So imagine you're below Asa Hutchinson. That's really how bad it got. By the way, in the new polling aggregate, Trump remains roughly unchanged. He's lost like a point of support. Nikki Haley gaining a couple of points. She'll be the next one to jump up and then go back down. That's my prediction. Vivek Ramaswamy is probably the only one, it seems, that has stabilized or a little bit of momentum in his campaign. Which is funny because if he drops out, I don't think that he's going to endorse anybody other than Donald Trump. But he has no reason to drop out. Did I not predict that at least a few people would drop out before Iowa? Now, if you have a campaign and you can fund it, you don't want to drop out. It doesn't matter if you come in 10th place, at least you were there. You can get a photo op in Iowa, New Hampshire and stuff, and maybe drop out before Super Tuesday. The gig is up then. But you can pose for the cameras, you can make your case. You can also, if you have any traction at all, you can do sort of what Yang did in the last election, which is just try to inject a single issue. His big thing was UBI, of course. I could not tell you the first thing about Francis Suarez's platform because he was so insignificant as an also-ran. Like, if the people on the debate stage were the JV team, this is like the Little League team that we're looking at. So if you're below Asa Hutchinson, you're not even in JV. You're Little League. You're playing wiffle ball, basically. The JV team is having a good old time. At least they use real baseball bats. Francis Suarez wouldn't be allowed to use one because he might hurt himself. I don't know whether his campaign messaging was good or bad because there was literally no reporting on it. I couldn't even find anything, generally speaking, about this particular candidate. And it's not because they fear him and wanted to lock him out of the race. It's because he didn't have any support. I suspect that at least a couple of other people will follow suit. Unfortunately, one of the top suggestions is Larry Elder. One of the more sane individuals in the race didn't make it into the first debate, and it's kind of like, coulda, woulda, shoulda at that point. You didn't quite make the cut. I suspect Asa Hutchinson may plan to drop out before Iowa. It's possible. Although he seems to be a stubborn, egotistical jack-off, so he might just stick it in just to be there, basically. Whether he makes the next debate or not remains an open-ended question. You might see some other people like, what's his name, Burgum, I think it is. He polls at like half a point usually, so if the first debate didn't let voters know who you were and then they had like a really warm reception towards you and so you went up to 2 or 3 points or something, there's no point in you staying in. Basically at this point in the GOP field, you have Trump, the virtually inevitable nominee. I say virtually because there is always the chance that he croaks or is incapacitated by a stroke or something like that. The trials don't seem to have slowed him down. And he doesn't seem to really have a hard cap on his support at this point, as we've seen. His main competitor, then you have, Ron DeSantis, is very close to being in third place at this point. He's fallen down to within about 5 points of Vivek Ramaswamy, and now Nikki Haley is having a little surge. If at any point Ron DeSantis falls to third even for a brief time, it's basically over. He'll have done what many candidates have done before, looking viable early on, and then slowly denigrating your own campaign through your own sheer incompetence. That's what's happening to him. But he is still in second place. He's the only other person in double digits. Then you have a cluster of people. You have, now Haley, and then Mike Pence on the decline, Haley on the ascendant, and Vivek Ramaswamy, who are technically viable. And then you have everyone else. Chris Christie would love to pull into that prior group. I don't think that he will, though, although the legacy media is absolutely trying to astroturf Chris Christie 2024. They are obsessed with the concept that they might get Bulldog Christie to stay in the race long enough to do actual damage to Donald Trump. That's basically the only point. I suspect that there are shenanigans there. Christie's going on MSNBC and stuff. You remember that time that Donald Trump went on CNN one time and everyone was crucifying him? Oh, look, he's giving attention to the legacy media. Well, where's the outcry about Chris Christie going on MSNBC over and over again? He has no problem with the legacy media because they simp for him. Chris Christie's their big boy, big dude. They love him. And then he'll go on a TDS rant, which he doesn't need any prompting, by the way, to go on. It's not like when you have Mike Pence aboard. Mike Pence goes up there, you grill him about his connection to Trump, his thoughts on Trump, everything Trump, and he must get sick of hearing about his former boss when he'd rather talk about his own campaign, but he never gets the chance to do so. And then he always pivots and diverts and doesn't really want to discuss it. Chris Christie will sit there, he won't even wait until the camera's on, he'll be discussing Trump. He loves it. It's the one subject that he's interested in other than food, I suppose. Francis Suarez, leaving the race, doesn't really change anything in terms of the metrics of the race itself. But it means that some of the lower-end campaigns are starting to starve for money. He will not be the only one that drops out before Iowa. That's virtually guaranteed. Again, there's a list of about a half a dozen other people that might be in that. You can expect DeSantis to stay in, unless he catastrophically drops like a rock into the middle of nowhere and he runs out of money, which he's perilously close to doing, but I think he does have enough of a core of support to probably keep funding. It's just a matter, we got to wait for more polling. If he goes single-digit mode, then it might be all over. It won't be Ramaswamy. He seems to have more of a bump, more staying power than the average candidate that has a breakout moment and then gains momentum. So he's not going Kamala Harris mode, in other words. With Haley, I think she will, because the one distinguishing mark of her was her debate performance. That's exactly what happened to Kamala Harris. People are comparing her to Elizabeth Warren. No. She's not Elizabeth Warren. She's Kamala Harris. Let's hope she doesn't get chosen as a running mate because of her one good debate performance. I think that would be a bad thing. If Donald Trump chose Nikki Haley, then I'd be like, maybe the DeSantis fans are right and maybe the man's mind is going. Basically Mike Pence with a vagina. Yeah, what a wonderful time. I'd be so happy knowing that she's a heartbeat away from the presidency and being able to start the world war she's clearly always talking about in her head. So Suarez is gone. You'll have probably one or two others drop out before Iowa. It could be more. I mean, it's a very packed field, and most of these people aren't even polled for because they don't have a political pulse. If they show up, they're showing it's like a Chelsea Clinton campaign meeting. They're meeting in a broom closet, talking to 5 or 6 other people. They walk down the street. They don't get patted on the back. If Trump walks down the street, everyone knows who he is. Some people cheer, some people jeer, but everyone knows he's there. If Ron DeSantis goes down the street, a lot of people will know who he is. Not everybody, but a lot of people. He'll have a crowd of people that gather if he goes to the store. Some of them will like him, some of them won't. If Vivek Ramaswamy walks down the street, or for that matter, Mike Pence or Nikki Haley, again, a smattering of people will recognize who they are, even absent Secret Service or something, and go up and try to talk to them or want an autograph. Did anyone do that for Francis Suarez unless he was staying in Miami? No. Nobody goddamn knew who he was. Same with Asa Hutchinson. Do you think that the average person... I wouldn't recognize Asa Hutchinson at a glance of walking down the street. Maybe barely, that dude looks familiar. Who's that? I think I've seen him on TV once. It's the same for the other also-rans. Tim Scott may be the only one outside of that, I suppose. Yeah, so prediction fulfilled. Now we wait for the next fly to drop. That's about all. Peace out.